Hey everyone, my name is Sean, and over the next couple of days I'm going to be releasing a series of videos as to what I think are the best staple cards players should be investing into through 2020. These cards have been ranked and rated based on their effectiveness, their affordability, and how often they were actually used in 2019. I want to give a quick shout out to a friend of mine, Seb, who has collated data from previous YCSs to show what top level players have been choosing to put into their main and side decks. And if you want to see these data for yourself, a couple of them will be listed in the description down below. And also feel free to go support him on his channel at the Seb2360. He is also getting into releasing videos and content, and feel free to go support him there as well. In today's video, we're going to be looking at what I believe are the top 10 best hand traps to invest into for 2020, so let's get down to it. At number 10 on our list, we're going to start with both Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, and also Skullmeister. Now, both of these cards fulfill a very similar purpose despite having different effects. They are both used when you want to kind of stop your opponent from manipulating their graveyard as a resource. Now, they started to see slight play within the last year or so, being sided in here and there, but they are not commonly used cards because they're often made redundant by other hand traps which are on this list as well. That being said, these cards are very affordable. Skullmeister is very cheap and you can be gotten as a common, whereas Ghost Bell was recently released as a ultra rare in Droll Devastator, which really brought the card value down quite a lot because it became a guaranteed pull from a Konami product. Both of these cards are very worth getting into and they could see a lot of use in 2020, so if you don't have them already, go and pick them up. At number 9 on this list, we're going to have Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird saw a lot of play and it was commonly used in decks such as Trickstar Sky Striker towards the end of 2018 and at the start of 2019, but when Thunder Dragon Colossus came to the TCG, the meta started to curve away from engines that use cards that added from deck to hand, and more so from using cards that summon directly to the field or sent cards to the graveyard instead. Because of this, Droll and Lockbird lost a lot of its effectiveness last year and isn't really so good against the current top decks in the meta. However, that isn't to say that it couldn't be useful again in the future, especially with the new Master Rule update coming in April. A lot of people are going to be experimenting with older strategies, and these are older styled engines which do like to use things such as adding cards from deck to hand, and being able to shut down an opponent's engine for an entire turn can often give you enough time just to win the game. So also, Droll and Lockbird was recently released in Structure Deck 8 Order of the Spellcasters as a common card, so it is cheaper than it has ever been, so I strongly recommend people getting their copies while they can, as it will be very cheap until it's really needed. Number 8 on our list is going to go to Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, like Droll and Lockbird, saw a steady decline in use last year because of the way the meta shaped and formed. A lot of the best decks of the current format have cards which protect each other from being destroyed by card effects, or if these cards are destroyed, they often float into other beneficial effects which isn't worth doing so in the long run, so Ghost Ogre isn't as used as it once was. But that being said, anything below the current meta often falls very weak to Ghost Ogre, particularly control style decks and pendulums. These cards hate cards which destroy their cards on the field because they need them to stay face up in order to get the full benefit off of them. So I can very much easily see Ghost Ogre being a very well used card depending on how the future meta shapes and forms, so I definitely would go and get some copies of this, particularly as it was also reprinted recently in Droll Devastator. At number 7 on this list, we have Psyframe Gear Gamma and Psyframe Driver. Often run with 3 copies of Gamma and 1 copy of Driver to create what's called the Gamma package. The Gamma package is a very impressive and powerful tool because it can negate any type of monster effect, and this can be particularly useful when you want to kind of double up on any once per turn style hand trap that you think is really good against your opponent. The reason why the Psyframe Gear Gamma package is not often used, however, is because it can often clash with what other hand traps try to accomplish within their own effects, particularly because it puts monsters on your board, and that can not necessarily work with some of the other hand traps which we will list later on. Also, it can also lead to leaving 2 dead cards in your hand, which is pretty bad in a top decking situation, because Psyframe Gear Gamma attempts to banish both itself and Psyframe Driver during the end phase of the turn, and if you lose that 1 copy of Driver, your other 2 copies of Gamma are no longer effective. So Psyframe Gear Gamma, the Gamma package, is a very powerful tool. However, it's just a little bit outclassed and doesn't necessarily have synergy with every single other hand trap which you may want to run in your deck. At number 6 on this list we have DD Crow, and immediately the question that comes to my mind is, why is DD Crow necessarily better than cards such as Ghost, Bell and Haunted Mansion, and also Skullmeister? Well, the reason why DD Crow is better than this is best illustrated with a metaphor, and I like to describe it as such. DD Crow is the MST of graveyard removal. That is to say that it is a card which can be used both proactively and reactively. Just like MST can be used to destroy a face-up spell or trap card that your opponent might control, DD Crow can get used to get rid of a card in your opponent's graveyard before they can ever utilize it or take advantage of it being there. Similarly, MST can be used in response to certain effects that must activate while face up in the field, and DD Crow can be done so, or can be used so as well. If a card has to activate in the graveyard, or a card targets another card in the graveyard, you can remove it from the situation so the opponent's effect will fizzle out and whiff. And that's what makes DD Crow so good, is that it's very flexible in its applications, and right now flexibility is the name of the game in the current meta. At number 5 we have Fantastical Dragon Phantazmay, a really unique card on this list, and in that it does a lot of things that other cards can't do and provides a wide range of benefits. Number 1, it lets you draw deeper into your deck. Number 2, it summons itself to the field, forming a wall. Number 3, it has respectable attack and defense, which is really good when you're trying to push for damage. Number 4, it works very well in a link dominated format and is able to be used frequently. Number 5, it can protect your monsters from targeted effects. Number 6, it can kickstart your engines by discarding a card from your hand to the graveyard. And number 7, it has a high level 7, which can be used for a variety of mechanics such as link summoning a full power Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, or being used simply as a material in general for a number of different things. But the real question comes down to, why is Fantastical not higher on this list? Well, that is because it is so goddamn expensive. Do I recommend going out and buying it? Only if you have every other card on this list first. As Droll saw a steady decline in use in 2019, we started to see the rise of Artifact Lancea, and that is because it simply blocks a different type of engine. Where Droll stops players from drawing or adding cards from their deck to their hand, Artifact Lancea stops players from banishing cards as a resource, and that is simply why we start to see a use of it more. It combats 2 of the strongest decks in the meta, being Thunder Dragons initially, and then ultimately going over to Orcust. And what a blowout card it is! By bringing in Lancea at the right point in time, it can really stop an opponent from playing the game in a single turn. And so it has been such a frequently used side deck card throughout the whole of 2019. I strongly recommend players get their hands on it, and there will be a time, just like Droll where this card falls out of favour in use, but until then you really do need to do yourself a favour and have a play set of these. At number 3 on this list, and my personal recommendation, is Nibiru the Primal Being. Nibiru is the ultimate gate blocker for combo decks in Yu-Gi-Oh right now, and I absolutely love it. Up until the middle of 2019, we were starting to see players come up with new ways to create insane combo decks, whether it be Pendulum, Crusadia Guard Dragon, or Thunder Dragon combo decks, where your opponent simply just did not have enough answers in their opening hand to kind of deal with them, or the multiple forms of negation or floodgates. And on top of that, there were cards such as Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, which can actually take cards from your hand and shuffle it back into your deck before you even had the chance to think about using it. It's a really sucky way to enjoy the game, because it turns the game into a game of solitaire, where one person is doing what they want to do for 15 minutes or so, and the other person just has to sit there and take it. And I hate that style of Yu-Gi-Oh! I like interaction, and Nibiru provides that form of interaction that we just needed. Whereas previously, you had to really hope that in your opening hand, you drew into a card like Raw Spear Mode, Lava Golem, or a Kaiju, now you can just hold on to Nibiru, and anytime your opponent has summoned 5 or more monsters during their main phase, you can tribute everything on the field and give them a hard rock instead. I strongly recommend picking up this card, particularly with the Master Rule update in April 2020 looming ahead, because there's a lot of players who are going back to other extra deck mechanics such as Fusion Spam, XE Spam, and Synchro Spam, and all of those decks, regardless of what type they are, have to pass the Nibiru check. If they cannot beat Nibiru, then they are not going to be able to succeed in the new format. So I strongly recommend getting your copies of Nibiru so to protect yourself from any degenerate strategies that may arise in the future. Number 2 on this list, we have the first real staple, Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence has been featured in many top decking lists at high level tournaments of play since its inception, and for a really good reason. It is a form of effect negation which is just so reliable and easy to use, and unlike Effect Failure, its budget little brother, Infinite Impermanence does not fall prey to monster effect negation, which is really important because it means your opponent has to diversify their toolbox of ways to counter with your hand traps. Infinite Impermanence will continue to be relevant for the foreseeable future because as long as monsters have effects, Impermanence will be there to negate it. Also, of course, is the added benefit that Impermanence can negate spells and traps when placed carefully and wisely in certain columns. It's overall just a really solid card, and with it also not being limited to being used once per turn, I foresee for Infinite Impermanence to continue to be used into the foreseeable future. And number 1 on this list is going to be
another Twin Twister.
Oh, I think I understand this now, actually, his idea. Because if you now run your opponent, like if one of those was a card of demise
For the follow-up turn? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you want rid of it.
Oh, wow, but he can add Crescendo. Oh, what a guy. He knows what was going on.
Oh, boy. Yes, he did have access to his engine after all. Twin Twister plus Crescendo equals Orcus combo.
Why do you normal summon Ash?
So you can make Galatea?
But Crescendo doesn't
Special summon?
special summon, it adds. I'm a little confused.
He declares an attack for 0. Yes! No damage has been inflicted, but that is an ultimate flex, asserting his dominance, normal summoning Ash to declare an attack.
Why?
And he passes turn and survives.
Why did he summon it?
Thank you guys for tuning into this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Do you agree or do you disagree? Feel free to leave me a comment down below. As someone who's been a tournament organizer of a locals for almost a year now, I see many players going out and investing in so many cards, and I strongly think that if you don't already own the cards on this list, you will do yourself a favor going out and buying them, because they will provide you better long returns than many other cards which you could go out and buy currently. With that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. In the next one, we will be looking at spells, and feel free to let me know what your predictions on what that will be down in the comments down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe, like, and all that good jazz. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Take care.